Prophet, hey man,
What's up?
how you doing,
What's
brother?
going on, brother?
I don't, I,
Doing well.
I don't know if you remember me, man, but I interviewed you in that park there in Greensboro in 2018.
I remember that, man.
Yeah, you sang "Angels and Demons" for me. You did "Under a Bridge," and
That's what's up.
yeah, man, it took a couple years to get the film done, but I got the documentary coming out this weekend. It's called "Miles of Kindness," and you have a feature in there where you're rapping and telling your story, and then the closing credits is your song "Under a Bridge."
Really?
Yep.
That's just cool, man.
So you've turned everything around.
Yeah, this is my boy.
Oh man, I'm so
Yeah,
happy and proud of you, man.
yeah, I got a good job, good money. I got lots of money in the bank,
Dude, it is so good to see that you're doing well.
and I got probably $7,000 in the bank. You
Good.
know, maybe to put myself through the studio. I don't know. I'm not done.
What are you doing for work now?
I work at a welding supply distribution center.
Good for you, man.
After I saw you, after we met,
Uh huh.
I fell off a building in downtown Greensboro. Somebody pushed me off a building, and I broke my back in two places, broke two vertebrae.
Wow.
I stayed in the hospital a month. It took me 6 months to learn to walk again.
Jeez. I'm so happy that I was able to reach you today. You know, I've stayed in contact with a couple of folks that I interviewed along the way, and always trying to find people. And man, that's so cool that you're on Facebook, and we just connected. We're FaceTiming right now, and I'm just happy to see that you're upright and you're doing good.
Oh yeah, I'm doing great, man.
Awesome, man.
I'm doing better than I've done in many years. I got all new clothes, all new shoes. All new furniture. You see?
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. You got a great pad there. I'm so proud of you, man. That's great, man. To come out of that situation when I had talked to you, man, I could tell it was at a pit of despair, and to see you today, you look healthy, you look really good, and you're working, you got your own place, man. That's powerful. That's a hell of a story. Oh, we've got the van all set up for our movie premiere this week, Miles of Kindness. Today's Friday, June 2nd. Showing's going to be on Sunday. Basically, we're going to take the van down to Roosevelt Row. It's a really big, popular art district, and try and do a little bit of last-minute advertising to get more folks there. We've got flyers for the premiere are plastered all over the van, and tonight is First Friday, where they usually have 15 to 20,000 people that just come down and party. So we're going to try and get in a good spot that'll get us a little bit of notice and recognition, and hopefully be able to just max out that crowd come Sunday. So that's just kind of what we're doing right now. I don't know, Will, would you take this thing on a road trip across the country again?
Maybe if you recharge the AC.
There is no AC, man. This is the AC. So it's been a lot of work trying just to promote and advertise. A couple weeks ago, my work had a little trade booth at an event. And so what I did to try and promote and get as many people there as possible is this back panel has all the cities that we went to, like the entire route. And so it's always a conversation piece. It's been featured in the news a bunch of times, because when you really start to look at it and break down, you're like, holy shit, like this guy actually hit every four corners of the country. Like we started here in Phoenix, and then you see we work all the way across the bottom of the country, and then we kind of pop up into Tennessee and then down into Georgia. Then we go all the way into Florida, down to Key West, Florida, the very most southern tip of the country. You know, and then from there, it's like, where are we going? All the way up the East Coast. All the way from Florida, the Carolinas, Washington, D.C., West Virginia, all the way up New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Vermont, like all the way to the very northeast. And then you start working across the top of the country, all the way across the top of the country, the Dakotas and Wyoming, and back up into Montana. And then we finally hit Seattle. So now we've hit 3 of the 4 corners. Then all the way down the west coast, Skid Row, and then right across to Vegas and all the way back home. It was 17,526 miles of travel. So literally we have a sample size of 42 states. And I mean, these are just some of the bigger cities we went to. If you look at all the cities we went to, it's thousands. You can't write them all on here. All right, so this is just for the director's cut, editor's edition. Like, you got to pay extra for this bonus footage here. So imagine 2 big guys sleeping in here, all right? I'm up on here, cameraman's down on there. If you're staying somewhere at night, you can't really like get out to use the bathroom. Well, what do you do? Like, you know, my head's here, their head's there. What do you do if you go to the bathroom? Well, I created a system for myself. This little bad boy opens up. This is the bonus. This is too hot for TV. You've got a lot of piss went through here. It doesn't smell like it anymore. It's been years. It's sterile. But yeah, I mean, you just pull that out. You kind of roll to your side. You know, put your ding ding in there, and then pee, and it just drains right out the bottom of the van. So this was kind of the homemade bathroom that we created, or that I created. And then the camera guy, of course, would either roll and pee in a jug, and then we'd throw it away, or slide the door open and pee out the door. Whatever we had to do, like, depending on where you're at. But I thought that was pretty slick, man. Pretty slick system. I'd use it today if I had to. So these lights for right back here, they're connected to my solar battery. And so when I was building the van, I wanted to put in like some sort of security, because we were going to be staying in places that were just dangerous throughout the country. And one thing that I thought that I could do is, what if I put some lights back here, and I got a backup camera. What if I put some lights back here, and if we're in the van sleeping and somebody is coming around the van, I reach up, I can flip the lights on, and that's kind of your first line of like spooking somebody. Plus it also lights up the scene. If anybody else is around, they can see. And then at that point, you could pop the button up front and turn the front light bar on as well. And so now you've created kind of your first line of defense, really, in scaring somebody. Another thing that I carried in the van, I don't even know if this thing still works, but we'll give it a go, was whenever I would panhandle, I always had the cameraman have this Marine air horn. And the reason being is, if it was a situation where it looked like I was going to be assaulted or it was going to be very dangerous, I always wanted to create a bit of a diversion. So I don't even know if this still works. It does. So my camera guy would always have this by them, and in the event it looked like maybe something was going bad, it'd blow that to alert me. Also, it would create a bit of a diversion, maybe buy some time, or bystanders would, you know, kind of avert their eyes towards that. So before we even left on the trip, I was very intentional with like kind of planning out how can I protect myself, my equipment, my cameraman through this whole process.
Stand is open and then doors are to the right.
How are you? Good, it's good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Thank you for coming today.
Of course.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you. November 1st of 2015, I was sitting in my ambulance in Scottsdale, and we were coming back from a call, and I'm looking down at my phone, and my partner goes, oh shit. And I look up in time, and I see this car blow through the light going 85 miles an hour, T-boning a car. They come, they hit us, and they move us back 15 feet. I was hurt. I was injured. I had a neck injury that lasted for several years. I was able to stumble out of my ambulance and start checking people. It was a triage. It was a mass casualty incident. And the scene was horrific. I've been on over 20,000 911 calls in my career, and that was one of the worst car crashes that I've ever seen in my life. For me at that time, I was struggling deeply with PTSD, and that accident only amplified that in my life. And so I needed something different. I need kindness in my life. And so I got a little bit of a settlement check. And could you imagine this? Could you imagine going to your loved one and saying, you know what, I'm gonna quit my job. Okay. I'm gonna quit my job and live homeless for 6 months, and I'm gonna go film a documentary about human kindness. Could you love somebody enough to let them go do that? And so thank you to my friends and my family for loving me and encouraging me and being able to go after that. It was incredible. Now, a lot of folks have asked me, you know, when you're, like, what inspired you to want to be a part of doing this for the homeless population? Well, when you're working on the streets as a paramedic, as an EMT, firefighter, police officer, you're exposed to things that the average person is not exposed to. And so on a daily basis, I would run calls that had to do with the homeless community. And you would see these tragedies day in and day out. They are predispositioned to reckless behavior, to just harmful things. I think of a guy that we got called about 11 o'clock one morning. This was in Yuma, Arizona. Middle of summer, it's about 110 degrees out. And he was screaming. And when we come up to him, we found him sleeping between two flatbed semi-trailers. It was 160 degrees on the ground. He was wearing only shorts. He was cooking to death. These are things that you don't see on a daily basis, you don't hear about. You know, I was working in Scottsdale, another guy, he was intoxicated, a homeless man, stumbled out into the street, was hit by a car, thrown into a bus stop. And then my crew, we went there and we tried to save his life. I had to cut his throat open to put a breathing tube in to try and save his life. That's something that the average person doesn't see. These are only 2 stories of maybe hundreds that I have. And if you talk to other first responders, they're gonna have their stories as well. These are things that the average person is not exposed to. So I think as people, we have a responsibility to try and lift others up out of those terrible situations. Anytime we come together as a community of people, we should always try and do something for a cause. And our cause is to help our neighbors because they are a part of us. So thank you guys so much for coming out today. Miles of kindness, enjoy, and give without expectations.